Hi, everybody. I'm Mills Menser, founder and CEO of Diamond Banc. We're one of the nation's leading national Rolex buyers. And I'm breaking down today what you need to know to get the most for your Rolex in 2025 and covering some of the things a lot of potential sellers miss. So the first thing when you go to sell a Rolex is you want to know what it is that you have, right? And so basic things like what model do you have, but also like what's referred to as the papers or the warranty card is super important. Any additional links that you have. So make sure that if you took links out of your watch, paperwork, initial receipt, anything that you have adds value because even that receipt will show that a dial is factory, which means Rolex created the dial, diamonds weren't added afterwards or something to this effect. It also ensures that the item is authentic to the next buying party. So I always say, make sure that you have, where all your paperwork is, warranty card, receipt, appraisal. The more you have, the better armed you are for whoever you sell to feel good about the purchase. So one of the bases of knowing what you have is you need to know the model number of the watch. And on the watch market, obviously demand drives price. So the MSRP or the original retail price does not drive demand on the secondhand market. It's how many watches are available versus how many captive active buyers want to buy that watch. So you figure out what your model number is, and that's generally on your paperwork. So you can look online and see what are people that are selling your watch asking for. So Chrono24 is one of the largest platforms that you'll find. And then on there, you can actually search comps. So you can do like your type of watch and then go low to high. Does it have on the search? So look at the cheapest ones first. This is going to give you a reality of the market. It's no different than when you look at home prices or vehicle prices. The ones that actually sell are the cheap ones at the top. The ones that are half and a third down the page, those are not going to move until the ones above do, and then they'll reduce in price. So the better you get your filters, whether it's age, condition, box and papers, that's going to give you a good metric. So I'd always recommend looking at the first 2 or 3 watches. Now, again, most of the people that are selling on a website like Chrono24 or eBay or whatever are investing their time to sell directly to the end consumer. And if you elect to do that, you have to do return policies and anti-fraud measures and labor of answering a bunch of emails. And so you can squeeze a little bit more yield out. But what's the most scalable solution is that most people just sell their watches directly to a watch dealer or trader because you're leaving them little margin on the table, and then you get your money and get to go back on focusing on what you're good at and focusing on your life. So I think that's an important other thing. If you're wanting to get the most possible and you want to spend a bunch of time on it, you can attempt to sell to another consumer that's going to wear it. If you value your time and you want a strong offer, but you want to sell it in a clean transaction, then I would find a well-capitalized watch dealer to sell directly to. Some other fundamental good tips. So since demand drives the market, if you have a very sellable watch, meaning that they trade a lot, like a two-tone Submariner, all steel Submariner, all steel Daytona, you can expect to receive a much closer cash price to the cheap comps that you're going to find online versus a more obscure watch that doesn't trade as much, like a Pearl Master or a Ladies older president, right? So on these type of watches, they don't trade as often. So when they do exchange hands, the people that want to sell them work on a higher profit margin because they own them longer and they have to get a better return on their capital. If it's an all steel Submariner, a watch like that, they can buy it and sell it in a very quick time frame, therefore working on a very thin margin. So ultimately, if you're talking to expert buyers, which I would encourage you to talk to multiple to get a bid, they're not setting the price, the market's setting the price. And what you paid for it is independent of what it's worth, which in some cases with watches is a great thing because it's worth more than you paid. Often it's worth what you paid or below. That's not good or bad, it just is. But if you're no longer wearing the watch, sell it and find the buyer that can pay the most in the time frame with the type of transaction that you're seeking. So as you begin to get quotes from multiple watch buyers, that's really crucial. You want to get quotes from, I would say, maybe 3. The first thing you want to do is look at reviews. Look on Trustpilot, look on Google, see what people are saying about the seller. That's common sense, but it's something that can't be overlooked. So again, when you're going to start the process of actually selling the watch, because you've already established what it is that you've had, you've already looked online to see what companies are wanting to sell these watches back to the end consumer, you've got a baseline. Now you want to actually get bids, and I would talk to 2 or 3 watch buyers, check their Google profiles, check their reviews, and make sure that they're well established. And then from there, obviously it's common sense, but it's good to know these people are buying your watch to make a profit, right? And that there has to be a win-win transaction for them. And the ones that you see are selling on those comps or watches like yours being advertised online, those watches have no scratches generally, are in perfect, what they call retail ready. Often you're taking your watch off and selling it to someone. They may have servicing costs. It may be missing a link. They may find out that your crystal is chipped. There's a variety of things to make sure you're comparing like scenarios. So what we recommend is getting about 3 different bids. The quality of the bids that you're going to get are based on the quality of information that you provide to the prospective buyer. And we believe that leading with transparency is a huge plus. So if most Rolex buyers, they should be able to tell you, if you can text them a photo and give them the model number, they should be able to tell you within a pretty tight band what they're willing to pay. If they say, oh, we have to see your watch, that's generally because they want you to come to the office and they want to work to give you as little as possible. Often that's the case. When you give someone a number and they can possibly use that to shop the item, that encourages them to put their best foot forward. Certain divisions like Diamond Banc is this way as well. You can ship us your watch or you can visit one of our 13 offices. But we get lots and lots of Rolexes we buy through FedEx overnight. And a concern of clients is, well, am I going to get the money that you told me I would get once I receive the watch? And whether it's us or other people that are in that same service, the quality of the offer is as good as the quality of information you provide. So if we're not, if the buyer isn't told, oh, it's missing 2 links, oh, the crystal is scratched, oh, the diamonds on it are aftermarket, they're going to give you, or they should, generally, they're going to give you the best case scenario, assuming the watch is as it's represented, to inspire action on your part. So make sure that you're very detailed and accurate in your description to make the best use of your time. Either you A, visit a company to sell your watch, or B, ship your watch in to sell it. Honestly, the mistake that ends up costing people money when they're considering selling their watches that you don't hear a lot of is indecision or inaction. And so, often people, when it's human nature when we own something, to be so proud of it and believe that it's worth, the very top of any comp that we see. But the truth of the matter is that there's a lot of watches of any of these models out there, and it's worth what it's worth, and that's dictated by the market, not by any one individual. And so it's, trying to time the market or waiting for something else to change before taking action. Often what will happen is in our business, we'll give someone a quote, they'll go to 2 or 3 other places and see that, yeah, Diamond Banc is the best communicator and gives us the highest offer, but surely it should be worth more. And so they just freeze. And then 6 months down the road, they do need to sell the watch and they have to take immediate action, but that often the market is weaker than it was when we spoke to them last and we have to adjust the offer. So I think action is a choice, and do your research, check 3 or 4 places, but anyone you sell to, there has to be a reason that they're going to buy, and they have to be able to service you and their client. So having reasonable expectations based on market reality is only going to serve someone in being successful, because what's the target? To actually sell the watch, not shop around and waste time. What are the key drivers that establish demand and pricing for Rolex watches on the secondhand market in 2025? It's like it almost always is, supply and demand driven. So the insanity of watch pricing that came post-COVID, just like it went into equities and crypto and real estate, has calmed, right? It was never sustainable for someone to be able to go buy a watch from a retailer and then sell it to another individual for a profit. That sounded great and was great for a moment in time, a blip in time, but that's not sustainable, right? So more of the basics of supply and demand and pre-owned product are coming back into play. But the models that do the best from what you pay to what you receive, and sometimes it can be in excess thereof, are going to be sports models, all steel sports models, Rolex, Daytona, GMT, etc. Those always do the best. And then watches that are kept in really good condition, like people that have had a watch 20 years or 15 and truly haven't worn them. So the bracelet has very little wear. It's very tight. They have all the box and papers. These watches become more valuable as well. And then any limited edition dials or, discontinued sports models, all those watches are very strong. But again, it's all based on demand at the time. Historically, the pre-owned Rolex market is still very strong, and it's a good place to, if you're not wearing the watch, to convert it into liquidity to go achieve something else. Having like the warranty card, which is referred to as the papers and the box and the original receipt, the more of that you have, the better and the more valuable your watch is, especially on particular models where like it's a late model, which would mean a recent sports modeled watch. So a Daytona, GMT, Sky Dweller, Sea Dweller, anything like this, having that warranty card is super important. And then having the receipt that shows, in fact, you're the original owner. And this goes a long way in proving authenticity, that it's not a super fake, that there's no issues with it, and that the watch has clear title to sell. So especially in a blockchain world where everything is becoming verifiable and all of that, having that provenance is super crucial. Now, even on older watches, right? When you have a watch 20 or 30 years ago and it has the original papers, and it can also denote that it has a particular movement or dial that is of significance, that also proves that it's an original factory, not aftermarket. So it adds great value. So when buying a new Rolex, right, if you're going to keep it, or Patek or AP or whatever, always keep that paperwork. It's becoming of more and more importance every day, especially on some of these late model like a Sky Dweller or Daytona. Without the card, which is the paper, so to speak, it's worth less to us by thousands. So that's very important. If it's an older style ladies 26 millimeter, like date just, where maybe you wore it regularly and it stretched out, if you have the card, that's a plus, but it's not detrimental to the value. So using a wide brush, when people ask me that, the more rare and more sought after the watch, the more important the documentation and the substantiation of ownership becomes to make it universally liquid, because your target is to get the most possible. So when you sell up the watch to someone and there's no issues, they can pay up. So in 2025, if you're wanting to get the most for your watch and do your research and execute selling it, this is what I recommend. So step one is figuring out your model number, understanding the Rolex that you have. Look online and see what sellers that are looking to sell this watch to the end consumer are charging for it. You can look on Chrono24 is a good place to start, and by typing your model number into Google, you'll find many. Starting there, you understand that is a basis, because whoever you sell it to, obviously they have to make a profit. Often your watch needs refinishing, other things, etc. Then get 2 to 3 offers from well-respected, verifiable dealers online and allow them all to give you a number. The better information you can provide these people, does it have paperwork? Provide them that. Are you missing any links? If you know there's a scratch on the crystal, tell them now. Otherwise, they're going to figure that out and reduce the offer. So if you're wanting to receive as much or as close to your initial quote, then be accurate in what you tell people. And then where I would be leery of is that anyone that doesn't want to provide you a quote that's a professional without seeing the watch. If you give them the model number and a picture, they can give you a range. We'll give you an exact price. So you're owed that, because if you don't get that, then they're likely trying to buy it below market. So, get 2 or 3 quotes and then make sure you feel good about who you're going to sell to, and then ultimately pull the trigger and, get a check and then go do whatever you want with those proceeds. By spending, the only other way you can get more is if you want to sell directly to the end consumer, which is a much more labor-intensive transaction with a lot of questions being asked. You have anti-fraud issues. They're going to want it polished. Generally, they want a warranty. So all that sounds good in theory, but the channels of our business and our industry are really there because they're pro-consumer. So if I was primarily in the real estate business, I want to try to become a watch trader, sell the Rolex I'm not wearing for a respectable number, and focus on my real estate. And I'd recommend the same to you. So if you're looking to sell your Rolex or simply like just know what it's worth in today's market, visit diamondbank.com and we'll quickly take care of you, and we'll provide you with an industry leading offer and also just information. Our team is very generous with our time. If you want to know the why, or we'll show you comps and we'll explain how we got there. So if you're wanting a value to sell, we'd love to assist you. We'll also loan you that same amount of money if you'd like to access the capital but want to retain ownership, or you're just wanting a brief history lesson on where's the market, what's my watch worth, and why. We'd love to give you that information. We want to add value to you whether you sell us your watch or not.